The fog that followed me home. Winter rain hits different, it does not fall, it hunts. That night, the fog rolled across the highway like something alive, crawling on the asphalt, swallowing cars whole. I slowed down. That's when I saw him. A figure standing dead center on the road, body facing me, head tilted like he was listening to my heartbeat inside the car. He was wrong. Too tall. Arms too long. Like he had been stretched by the fog. I pressed the horn, nothing. I blinked, and he was suddenly inches from my windshield. The fog behind him curled upward like fingers wrapping around his spine. I floored the accelerator and sped past him, heart punching my ribs. I didn't look back. But when I turned into my street, he was standing in my driveway. Soaking. Dripping. Smiling. And that smile. It wasn't human. It kept stretching, skin tearing as it widened. He whispered, voice wet and low. You left me in the fog, but the fog never lets go. The next morning, the police found giant handprints across my car, not fingerprints, palm prints bigger than a human head. And my driveway? Still wet. Still dripping. Even though it hadn't rained. The girl at the bus stop. The winter storm was vicious, rain slicing sideways, wind howling like it had a voice. I was driving home when I saw her. A girl at the old bus stop. Drenched. Shivering. Not moving. I pulled over. She didn't speak, didn't look up. Just raised one arm and pointed to the empty seat beside her. The moment I sat down, the storm went silent. Like someone had pressed mute on the world. No wind. No rain. No sound. I turned to ask if she was okay. And froze. Her face was smooth. No eyes. No mouth. No nose. Just pale, stretched skin like someone erased her. She tilted her blank head toward me. And then her voice. A whisper coming from inside my skull. Not from a mouth. Thanks for waiting with me. The last person left me alone. Before I could stand, she grabbed my wrist. But she had no fingers, just cold, wet pressure wrapping around my skin. Don't leave. You're the next one. They're coming for you. Lightning flashed, and she vanished. But the seat beside me stayed soaked, dripping. As if someone invisible was still sitting there. The window that knocked back. Thunder shook the house that night. Rain hammered the roof like it was trying to break in. Around 3 a.m., I woke to a gentle tapping on my window. Tap, tap, tap. I thought it was a branch. Until another tap came. From the inside. I slowly opened the curtains. A handprint was smeared across the glass. But not from outside. From my room side. Then another print appeared beside it. And another. Like someone was crawling along the window from the inside of the walls. I stepped back. The glass began to warp. Bulge. Like something behind it was pushing forward. A cold voice seeped through the cracks. So warm. Let me borrow it. The window split open. And freezing rain burst inside. But it didn't fall like water. It crawled. Up the walls. Across the floor. Toward me. Shivering, I slammed the door and barricaded myself in the hallway. All night, I heard knocking from every window. Tap, tap, tap. Trying to find a way back in. The man in the wet coat. In my neighborhood, winter nights have a rule. Don't look at the man in the soaked coat. He walks past at exactly 12:17 a.m. No sound. Just dripping. But that night, curiosity ruined me. I peeked out the window. He stopped under the streetlight. Coat drenched. Face hidden by dripping hair. He slowly lifted his head. And his eyes were pitch-black puddles. Rain inside my house suddenly poured from the ceiling. Flooding the floor. Sweating from the walls. He whispered, voice gargling like he was speaking underwater. It rains harder where I came from. I blinked. And he vanished. The water in my house drained away instantly. But since that night, every midnight, there are wet footprints leading from my front door to my bedroom. And they're getting closer to my bed. The rain that called my name. During the coldest storm of the year, the rain didn't sound like rain. It sounded like thousands of voices whispering. I ignored it until I heard one whisper clearly. Your name, open the door. I froze. I thought it was someone outside. Then the voice came again. Come outside, it's warm here. I stepped onto the porch. A puddle formed at my feet, rippling like something was breathing inside it. Then the puddle rose, shaping into a face. My face. Its eyes opened underwater. Its mouth stretched wide. Come down here, we can switch places. Water wrapped around my legs. Pulling downward. Cold as death. I fought it off and stumbled back into the house. The puddle flattened. But its reflection changed. Now, whenever it rains, every puddle looks like me. Smiling. Calling me. And each time, the voice sounds a little more like my own. The radio that should have stayed silent. The winter storm knocked the power out around midnight. Rain hammered the roof so hard it shook dust off the ceiling. I lit a candle. That's when the old radio, the one I never use, turned on by itself. Static filled the room. Then a voice cut through. Not a broadcast. Not a station. A whisper, wet, raspy, like it was bubbling through water. Don't look outside. I froze. The rain grew louder, slamming against the windows like a fist. The radio hissed again. If you look, it sees you. I tried to shut it off. But the knob burned my fingers like the metal was ice cold. Then another whisper. It's at your window. My heart dropped. I turned slowly. Something stood behind the curtain. A tall shadow, dripping, the outline flickering with the lightning. When thunder boomed, the curtain puffed inward. Like something with claws had dragged its fingers across the fabric. The radio whispered one last time. If you open the curtains, it won't leave alone. The lights suddenly came back on. And the shadow vanished. But the radio? Still dripping water. The passenger in the back seat. Driving in a winter rainstorm is already a nightmare. But that night, the rain wasn't hitting the windshield. It was avoiding it. Sliding sideways, almost moving backward, like something was pulling it away. My wipers screeched. My headlights flickered. That's when I saw it. A figure sitting in my back seat, barely visible in the rearview mirror. Long black hair. Clothes soaked. Head down. I didn't stop. Didn't speak. Didn't breathe. The figure slowly lifted its head. Lightning flashed. And I saw her face. Pale. Waterlogged. Eyes white and empty like they had drowned. Her jaw dropped open, so wide I heard the skin tear. And water poured out of her mouth, flooding the floor of my car. She whispered, gurgling. "You drove past me. You should have stopped the first time." I slammed the brakes and jumped out. When I looked back in, the back seat was dry. But the seatbelt was still buckled. As if someone invisible was still sitting there. The house that breathed cold. During winter storms, my house always creaks. But that night, it wasn't creaking. It was breathing. Every wall expanded and collapsed. Like the whole house had lungs full of freezing air. Rain pounded against the roof in strange patterns. Not random. But rhythmic. Like knocking. I stepped into the hallway. And my breath fogged instantly. Then the house exhaled. A long, slow, icy breath that slid down my neck. I ran to the front door. But it slammed shut on its own. The walls groaned, whispering like voices trapped inside. Cold. So cold. Give us yours. Frost crawled across the floor, racing toward my feet. I jumped onto the stairs. But each step thumped like something under the wood was pushing upward. I fled to the attic. The moment I slammed the door, the house fell silent. But in the dark, dusty attic, I noticed something carved into the wall. The house learned to breathe after the last owner froze inside. Underneath the message, scratches. Deep ones. Like fingernails. The crying outside my door. A winter rainstorm at night turns the world into a blur. But around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound clearer than rain. Crying. Right outside my front door. It sounded like a child. I hesitated, listening. Soft sobs. Muffled hiccups. Heavy raindrops hitting skin. Against my better judgment, I opened the peephole. But outside wasn't a child. It was a shape, small, hunched, shaking. I whispered. "Are you okay?" The crying stopped instantly. The shape snapped its head upward. And even through the peephole's distortion, I could see its grin. Too wide. Way too wide. The rain behind it froze in midair for a split second. Then it spoke in a voice that wasn't a child at all. "Let me in. I'm done waiting outside." It raised one hand and knocked. But each knock came from a different part of the door. Left side. Right side. Top. Bottom. As if many hands were knocking at once. I backed away. And the crying started again. But now, it was coming from inside the house. The puddle that followed me. You don't think about puddles. You just walk past them. But after the winter storm that night, every puddle on my street reflected the same thing. Not the sky. Not the streetlights. It reflected me. But smiling. Blinking. Following my steps. One puddle rippled even though nothing touched it. Another stretched forward. Like water reaching. By the time I got home, a small puddle had formed behind me on the porch. Even though I hadn't spilled a drop. It rippled. Then a face formed. My own face, but older. Angrier. Its mouth opened and whispered in my voice. "Let me in. I've been waiting years for this moment." The puddle began creeping toward my door. I slammed it shut. But water trickled under the frame, shaping letters across the floor. Soon,